updates as health experts roll out measures to contain the outbreak of the novel coronavirus in Ghana. We focus on schools and the preventive as well as containment measures in place there. We take you live to the ground. We'll also look at the positive news on the coronavirus outbreak. The 2 persons who contracted the illness in Nigeria have recovered, while the number of new cases and deaths in China have significantly reduced. And the impact one story can make in the life of a pauper. Donations pour in for a woman whose biggest wish is to sleep on a mattress before she dies. Such story of how poverty has gripped some of our compatriots has received positive feedback. All of these plus many more on the Pulse shortly. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. This afternoon, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and UN agencies in Ghana have shut down their offices and have asked workers to stay home after it emerged one of 2 recorded coronavirus cases in Ghana is an employee of the UN. The health minister, Kwekwaji Manmenu, at a news conference late last night said the 2 cases, which originated from Norway and Turkey, were confirmed yesterday by the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. Well, Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma provided more details on the 2 cases on the Super Morning Show today.
These are 2 males. One came from Norway, one came from Turkey. One is a foreigner, one is a Ghanaian who is domiciled and works abroad, who came down to visit. Both have been in the jurisdiction and briefed just about a week or so currently. Yesterday, they complained of symptoms. They were put in isolation, and bear in mind that isolation does not necessarily mean health facility. They were put in isolation and samples taken from that isolation place and sent to Noguchi for testing. The team that is running these tests at Noguchi put us in a meeting and then made this detail available to us, at which time they were commencing the treatment processes as well. The doctors and the nurses who've been specifically trained for this exercise were now on standby to ensure that treatment also was commencing, while the contact tracing based on the data that is gathered in accordance with the entire system that's been put in place also commenced.
Now, our understanding is that one of them works at an embassy here in Ghana. Is that accurate?
I will not be going into any further details. As I mentioned, it is important to respect the protocols for managing this, which ensures that you don't set unnecessary panic within various communities. But as much information as can be put out, we put them out, and we allow the system to work to do the contact tracing to engage persons who need to be engaged. Persons who don't need to be engaged don't need to be panicked by suspicions and stories around of what people are hearing in the grapevine.
Well, in the last few hours, JoyNews is learning that the Norwegian ambassador to Ghana held a party with some selected schools in Accra. Maxwell Agbagba joins us live from one of those schools, the Ghana International School. Maxwell, where exactly are you and what is happening where you are?
Well, Aisha, what we are learning about the party where some students attended, the German-Swiss International School. That was where before we headed here to the Ghana International School. And there at the German-Swiss International School, authorities were still locked up in a meeting. We're told by our sources there that the meeting was over coronavirus, and they were taking plans on what to, what's the next line of action and what's going to be our source at the German Swiss International School actually told us that it is possible that the school would be closed for a period of 2 weeks before any additional, or any further plans, will be taken by management of the school on what, to do next. But if you know the German Swiss International School, we have a lot of expatriates attending that particular school. At the time that we were there, and some parents were actually coming to the school compound to pick their children back home. We are told that after today, the school will be closed for a period of 2 weeks. But here at the Ghana International School, in about 20 minutes, school would officially end today at exactly 3:30 p.m. And as you can see in the background, some cars are lined up there trying to get access to the school compound. Some parents trying to go and pick their children, from school. School would close at exactly 3:30 p.m. But the information that we have and the communique from the management of the Ghana International School indicates that the school will be closed for a period of 2 weeks, and that has been necessitated because of the the coronavirus positive case that have been recorded here in Ghana. The authorities here are taking precautionary measures, especially because they have expatriates here. They have people whose parents come from different parts of the world. So it has become necessary for the school to be closed down for a period of 2 weeks. As it stands right now, in the junior school on my right-hand side, we are told that there's an ongoing meeting right now to discuss the scope of the shutdown. But one thing that was visible, that was very clear to us, the two schools that we visited, the German Swiss International School and here at the Ghana International School, is the sanitizers and how management are ensuring that the children in the school are protected. In fact, at the German Swiss International School, we observed that the security man, anyone who walks into the compound of the German Swiss International School, is directed straight to the sanitizer, and you'd have to go there and sanitize your hand before you get access to the compound. If you do not do that, it will be difficult for you to get access to the compound. And even here at the Ghana International School, we've seen something similar, where they have hand sanitizers at vantage points. The moment you enter, you would have to sanitize your hand before you get access to the compound of the school. What we are learning about this shutdown, this 2 week shutdown, is that the students will now be using a virtual learning platform, and they will be continuing with studies from home. And these virtual learning platforms would enable them to still keep up with what they were doing whilst they were in school. Some parents that we've been interacting with tell us that in an email that was sent by the principal of the school, Ghana International School, Dr. Mary Eshen, sometime yesterday, indicated that the children would have to pack their books, essential textbooks, from their lockers today. And we are told by some of the parents that that is happening. So if you have a mathematics textbook, if you have an English textbook, you would have to pick it up today, because from Monday, for a period of 2 weeks, you will not come to school and you'll be learning from home. Some parents that we've been speaking to here have commended the school authorities for doing a good job and responding appropriately towards these 2 cases that we've recorded here in Ghana, Aisha.
So, Agbaba, how are teachers preparing the minds of these young ones who will be going home any moment from now?
Well, our sources here we've been speaking to tell us that the 2 week break is also to enable the teachers to the parents of these children who attend school here, to calm them down and also psych them up that there are interventions from all different health organizations in the world to try and find a solution to this. And we understand that that is what the teachers also will be doing today. A parent that I spoke to, told me that yesterday in the email that he got from the principal of the school, it was stated that the teachers will today use the opportunity to calm down the students, to allay their fears about the situation even before they go home. So our sources here have confirmed that has happened. They've been speaking to the students not to be scared or not to panic, over the situation that we have here in Ghana, Aisha.
Have you spoken with any student yet, Maxwell? What is how are they reacting to this whole news?
Well, it's very difficult speaking to a student right now. School would end at exactly 3:30, so in some minutes, the students will be walking out of the school campus. Many of them are in the classrooms now, as we told that the school authorities are also locked up in a meeting. All the people we met here are tight-lipped on the matter. In fact, they wouldn't even allow us closer to the school gates. Some persons we've been speaking to tell us that every information that they want to communicate and they want to put out there is available in that communique that they released, and that is also available on the Ghana International School website. They say that beyond that statement, they don't want to speak to the issue. All the people we've met here are quite tight-lipped. Even parents who are at the car park on my right-hand side, majority of them would not speak to us. The few of them we spoke to gave us the impression that they were happy with the decision that has been taken by the school. So on the school authority speaking to the issue, no, they've been tight-lipped. They say beyond the press release, they are not going to say anything. They are not going to speak to the issue. So that has been the situation. It's been quite difficult trying to get them to find out from them what this coronavirus case here in Ghana means to them. The school authority is difficult, the student is very difficult, and even for the parents, Aisha.
Well, many thanks to you. Maxwell Agbagba is our correspondent on that beat, and we're still monitoring events. It does look like many other schools will follow suit as the Ghana Education Service lock up with the Ministry of Health to decide what next to do with the other schools. We're monitoring events and seeing what will happen in the days to come. But JoyNews has also cited correspondence from UN authorities here in Ghana to their staff following the announcement that one of their personnel had contracted the virus. The statement reads, and it's also published on the UN website. We'll bring you that statement shortly. But okay, so that statement says, this is to let you know that we were informed last night that one of our UNDP colleagues tested positive for COVID-19. We want to first let you know that our colleague is in good hands, has followed the necessary protocols, and is now under medical observation and receiving excellent care at an assigned facility. And so you may also have heard that the UN offices have closed, and it says, we hence want to assure you that there is no need for concern within our team and wish to share the following facts. So it's actually giving some, so it says the colleague's last day of work on UN premises was Thursday, 12 March 2020. The colleague returned to Ghana from travel in Turkey on the 29th February 2020 and started feeling ill 2 days ago. During the time of travel and stay in Ankara, there was no reported community transmission of COVID-19. So those are the content, or that's the content of that statement that was released by the UNDP a while ago. And you know that their offices have been locked. And it says, we have immediately informed management in New York, including DCO, the UNDP Regional Bureau Management, the Division of Healthcare Management and Occupational Safety and Health, as well as UNDSS, and we continue to receive their full support and guidance. And that statement continues to say, because our colleague worked until the morning of 12 March 2020 from his office at the UNDP building, I, in coordination with their representatives of all agencies based at the UNDP UNICEF compound and as endorsed by headquarters management, have decided, out of precaution and for safety and well-being of all our staff, that staff normally working at UNDP UNICEF compound should work from home until contact tracing is concluded and decisions taken in coordination with the national authorities. For others, please go to your offices as usual tomorrow. And that's the directive from the UNDP. Well, I'm joined by the head of health desk at Joy News here. Yesterday, you attended a training and you've been monitoring some schools. Tell us more about that, Fritz.
Well, it appears that some schools on their own have started putting in place measures to avert this. The checks we've made indicate that these schools give the kids, or they've taken them through regular hand washing, and they also have hand sanitizers in the classrooms. So the teachers help these children to wash their hands, and where it becomes necessary, they apply the hand sanitizers with alcohol-based, which I'm told is 70% in them. So that's good news for us. Apart from the schools, we also have some businesses putting in place measures. For some of them, their offices have had the doors opened wide. It's opened ajar, so people don't have to be holding the handles of the doors to be opening and be leaving or depositing some viruses or whatever they have in their hands. So that's also another positive thing. And we checked at the shopping malls as well. They've also put in place some measures, so at least people are responding to the advice.
Well, we also know about a meeting between the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Health. What are we picking from there?
Well, we are still expecting a joint statement from them. This meeting took place between the Director General, Ghana Health Service, and the Director General, Ghana Education Service. These two had discussions on how to run sensitization programs targeted at school children and their teachers. And so, you know, in almost every community in Ghana, there are schools and there are school children. So all of the teachers must know how to educate the children or how to sensitize them to ensure that they know what to do to avoid spreading or contracting the disease.
But we also know that as some schools are planning to go home or send their kids home for the next 2 weeks, we know about GIS, we know about the Swiss school. Have we confirmed that of Lincoln, and which other schools are planning to follow suit?
Well, we've not had information yet on what Lincoln intends to do. What we know is the Ghana Education Service, and even that an elaborate statement is expected later on, I'm sure anytime soon. The joint statement will spell out what the Ghana Health Service and Ghana Education Service intend to do, if they should follow the suit of what some countries did by shutting down the schools, or continue running the schools, but put in place some measures. And already, once we know there are some measures in place, it becomes very easy for children to follow and not spread the virus.
So for purposes of education, I know you've been doing this, you've been on the beat on this very, very actively. But for purposes of education, some tips for us to stay safe.
Number one, wash your hands regularly with soap and running water. Apply the alcohol-based hand rub, which we all call hand sanitizers. And for those who would love to have hand sanitizers with them, what you must do, you need to ensure that the hand sanitizers you buy have 70% alcohol in them. And for those hand sanitizers, the moment you apply, you feel
some burning sensation,
and it will be drying off quickly.
Okay.
That is it. There are some that are for bacteria. Those ones are very sticky. That's not what you need. You need this. Some have even up to, some tell you it can kill germs up to 99%. That's all good. So the bigger the alcohol content, the better.
Yeah.
And do that. And if you touch, in fact, you're not supposed to be touching surfaces that you don't know who would have dealt with. So if you accidentally touch any surface that may be infected, what you don't have to do is to be touching your face, your nose, your eyes, and the rest. It's easy for the viruses to get into your system through these areas. And I need to mention this alcohol because I've heard a lot of people talk about the fact that there must be some alcohol in the hand sanitizer. Some people plan to drink the alcohol. It doesn't work that way. it doesn't work that way because.
But I've seen a flyer circulating that says that, I mean, when you take in warm things and you don't take cold stuff, so probably that's where people are understanding what they're supposed to do, taking in warm water, so they think if they take the alcohol it will do it better than the warm water.
Yes, but I've been made to understand that you know, when you're eating and talking at the same time, the food particles will enter the area, the pharynx, where air is supposed to be passing.
Okay.
Okay, it means that where food or water will pass is different from that place.
Okay.
Okay, so if you drink alcohol, it will not go through that part. That is exactly where the viruses like to hide and, you know, eat you up. And so this explains why
taking the warm water is actually the best.
Yeah,
way,
that may be better, not the alcohol.
Great. So, and also, would you want to dismiss the theory that the virus doesn't stay in hot areas and blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, but
because I've heard a lot of people making that case and thinking that they are safe and they don't really care.
Yes, everybody around the world must take precaution. You can't leave anything to chance, because we know a lot of people have been killed. Some have been cured, many have been cured, but a lot of people have also been killed by the virus. So I'm not sure you want to take any chances. While this virus is very still fresh, some research or some investigation is still ongoing, Aisha, still ongoing to determine the true nature of this virus. We know the family in which it comes from, and so we can tell easily how it behaves to a certain extent, not fully. And so we don't know if it will work well here or not. Now, there's statistics to show that women have a better chance of surviving if they've contracted it than men. We still don't know why. Okay, we still don't know why. And we have seen fewer cases in Africa than in Asia, Europe, and other places. We still don't know why. Okay, so in order not to use yourself as the sample or the material for experiment, heed to the advice given by the experts to do, and I'm sure you'll be fine.
Today, before I walked into the studio, somebody made an interesting comment, says the virus doesn't affect children, and I was alarmed because we know that children may have a higher immunity, but to say that it doesn't affect children, no science, I mean, there's no scientific proof.
That is false. I'm sure you heard some people in China who were children.
Okay.
So it's false.
Okay, so I mean, it can affect everyone,
children,
including children. Many thanks to you.
And I'm sure if the Ghana Health Service is holding meetings, you know, those in schools are children mainly.
Yes, definitely.
So if they are holding meetings to decide what they do in schools, it tells you that they know it can't affect children.
It can affect children. Fred Smith is head of the health desk, and he's been giving us some updates on the coronavirus. But luckily and fortunately, we're having some recoveries from the coronavirus. Now, we're joined via Skype, the national chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Health, Gabriel Benanku, is standing by. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Aisha. How are you doing?
Very well, and hoping that we are able to contain this disease. But how are you receiving news that Ghana has recorded her first 2 cases?
Yeah, thank you. We thank you and thank the various media who have joined this to ensure that people get adequate information on what the government is doing and the Ministry of Health. We have issued a communique to all our regional executives, our 55 regional executives in all the 10 regions now, and we have asked them to support the Ghana Health Service in terms of complementing their effort in social mobilization. We have also communicated through the media and other platforms to get community, especially traditional authorities, to support this educational program. And we also do call on the Christian Council and the other recognized religious bodies to begin to engage the Ghana Health Service from all facets of their structure. And we cannot wait for them to engage properly, but we need to also encourage everybody to also engage. So yes, we receive it as one of normal terms because we have already gotten information from across the globe, and we have received the WHO information about the pandemic, and therefore Ghana could not have done anything than to be properly prepared. So we have received it in good faith. We pray that it doesn't spread as it does in other countries, but we want to encourage everybody listening to observe the protocols of ensuring that your safety is at your hand, observe the basic cleanliness, and also to ensure that you report to the nearest health facility if you suspect anything. So yes, it's our responsibility as Ghanaians to do more than before, and it is also our responsibility to ensure that government release money on time to support the regional Ghana Health Service teams, to also support the districts, and especially if you notice, the coalition has been talking about 55 districts in Ghana who are sharing borders with other countries. We need to strengthen and put in place physical infrastructure that we can see and that people can know that they can go there for services. And that is what we want to talk about now.
Doc, there are suggestions that we should ban flights coming from all affected countries and also close our borders to neighboring countries. So what's your recommendation to this?
I'm not an economist, but the public health, yes, we can still manage it if we really mean business, if we are really interested in protecting every Ghanaian, and if we are really interested to strengthen our health system. We can still use the money the president has allocated for country to strengthen our borders and the airport, and we can have a temporary system that can detain people for some time, and then we release them. Somebody will say our strength is not too strong to be able to veto that. It will affect our international relations and other things. But we can do more and strengthen our human and health systems that can contain the situation right away from airport. They should not get in touch with their family or their business partners, but they can have a temporary place where they can be observed for some time before they can do that.
So banning flights and shutting our borders is not an option now?
Borders, yes, can be managed in a way. Flight, it has to do with international diplomatic protocols and other things. And I cannot talk about that. The president has the sole responsibility to be able to negotiate.
But what is the right thing to do? I mean, you may not have the right to do that, but as a health expert, you know what the right thing should be.
That's one of the alternatives I just told you, that we can have a structure to quarantine people for some time, observe them with all the protocols. If you observe the cases we have recorded, they came in within some short period before the symptoms started. So we could have that. But if the president, in his own wisdom, thinks that he can veto and ensure that we prevent any international flights landing, yes, that would be excellent. But there are options and opportunities for us to take.
What should the Ghana Health Service do, Doc, about the places that are usually crowded? I'm talking about schools, churches, I'm talking about public events and what have you.
The Ghana Health Service is capable of providing adequate and timely information if they are supported. So the Minister of Health, Minister of Finance should immediately speed up the arrangement to release the needed resources to the regional Ghana Health Services. I believe they can do a good job in the various regions and districts. The issue has always been political will, political commitment to releasing resources to the Ghana Health Service. Now that we have seen the President's commitment to dedicating $100 million and instructing that it should be released for the preparedness and the management and even for research. If you notice, I'll talk about research severally that Ghana, we are not researching on that. This $100 million could be used to scale up, to prioritize areas that are already tagged as highly prone, and the other areas that we can roll out educational programs, and other areas that we can go into research so that we can learn from it and get more information how to manage the future. And the issue of tracer is very critical. Once we have these two cases, it is most likely and probable that they would have already infected other people who are also within their incubation or who are also on their way to infecting other people. So there's the need for adequate resourcing of the Ghana Health Service to be able to do a good job, including our research institutions.
Doc, there are suggestions that there should be a directive to actually ban public events, funerals, weddings, and what have you, and also shut down our schools for the time being. What's your position on this?
That may not be a good strategy. Health is also social, and therefore you cannot totally ban. What we have lacked and what we have fallen behind is that we have not educated people enough to observe the principles of safety and healthy lifestyle living. If we activate the educational program, there will be very little crisis if should it happen to the other parts. So what I really recommend the Ghana Health Service to do is to capacitate their staff, community health nurses, public health nurses, the health promotion unit, converting all the messages into local languages and populating them, integrating the Ministry of Information Service Department to complement the effort of the Ghana Health Service, I think can make a very good inroads to educate people so that funerals greeting will be stopped, even though funeral can be performed, weddings can be performed without necessarily allowing the creating problems. But the responsibility lies on people getting adequate information, and they can be able to take that to change their lifestyle. So we could activate some of the state laws of public noise or anything that have repercussion on the public safety. But the most and the best strategy is to intensify our behavior risk communication and social mobilization and engagement.
Well, some few weeks ago when we recorded that case that proved negative in Kolebu, we had some frontline health workers complaining about how unprotected they are whilst at work. Has that changed? What is your checks revealing?
As of yesterday, it has not changed much. And that's why I keep on advocating that the president should check to ensure that the Minister of Finance release funds to the Ghana Health Service immediately. The situation is still remain unchanged. There has been little in my knowledge, and I'm connected with all the regions. I know what I'm talking about. Even right now, as I'm speaking to you, I am not in Accra, I'm in Takoradi. And last week I was in the north, and this week I'm in Takoradi. Monday I will be in Kumasi, and therefore I can 100% tell you that all the issues we have talked about, the inadequate preparedness of Ghana, still remain the fact. And the good news is that the president has spoken 3 times, and there has been changes at the national level. But we want to see this translate into the local level. And the only way to do that is that let's release the money, let's release all the support so that the human resource can be recapacitated, material can be supplied, financial issues can be provided, engagement can be strengthened, and research can follow up with information so that we can learn from it, respond quickly in treatment, in protection, also for the future. And so the only thing we have to do now is to allocate resources to the region.
I'm extremely grateful for your time. Dr. Gabriel Benanko is president of NGOs in Health. Meanwhile, microbiologist with the University of Ghana, Reverend Professor Kwame Nsego, has revealed that the coronavirus is able to live on surfaces between a period of 2 hours and 9 days. What this means is that if an infected person touches any surface, like tables, doors, chairs, etc., you're likely to also get the virus if you touch it. Listen.
I want to bring in now is that I have learned, I spoke to Joy FM before I came here, and I've learned that one of the people is a Ghanaian, one of the those who tested positive is a Ghanaian. Yes. So we should remove that myth that Africans cannot be infected. We shouldn't go there. There may be other reasons why we don't have that level of infections here as compared to China, Europe, and other places in America. So we need to be careful. So we should close that myth now, now that we have a Ghanaian who has tested positive in our own country. Okay, so now you have normally what you have called an incubation period. If you are infected by a virus, not only viruses, by any infectious agent, there's a time when from infection to a point where you will not show any symptoms. You look just like any of us sitting here where you are not sick. And sometimes these things you can transmit through even though you are not showing any signs, somebody can actually pick it up from you because the virus may be growing in your body, you see. So as the virus grows, maybe it needs to get to a certain level to destroy your respiratory tract to a certain level before you start showing the symptoms. So not having any symptoms doesn't mean you cannot transmit to someone. That's what we call the incubation period. And I think we should also bear in mind that a lot is still, the virus is unfolding and people are still trying to find out how does it really behave. So we should have maximum protection as much as possible. And so that's why they're doing contact tracing. The assumption is that these people sat on the plane. Did they touch anything on the plane? Were their hands somewhere? Were they coughing into the air? And did people inhale when we're coughing? So anything could have happened. So the idea of contact tracing is to make sure that those people are observed over a period of time.
We'll talk about all that.
Okay.
So I'm talking about 2 people.
Yes.
2 cases, I'll call them 2 cases. Yes. Before they left their place of origin, wherever they came from, they'll go through certain checks. Left their hotel rooms or homes.
Yes.
They take a cab. Those are the things I want you to take me through, the routine.
Okay, I mean, you said it already. So basically...
I have not said
no, so they probably may have even gone to church or to the mosque before coming. And they went to the airport. They went through the processes. They may have gone to it. Probably people buy ticket online. So probably they bought it online. They paid online. When they picked a cab, or they were living with their family. Okay? Their children will go to school or they will go to work. So let's look at the big picture. And then they have now come to Ghana on the flight. They met people. They picked the cab from the airport home, or somebody picked them. That person would meet another person.
That was Professor Sego with some tips there. My colleague Erastus Asaridonko has been to the markets and bus terminals. He joins me via phone. Erastus, good afternoon to you. Tell us more about your findings at the bus terminals and markets.
Good afternoon. We have been going to the various public areas to try to find out people's preparedness towards prevention of coronavirus. Now, we've gone to the Kumasi City Mall, for example, and we've seen that the management itself has put up notices at the various meeting areas to tell people about the do's and don'ts, as well as to show people how to wash your hands and all that. They've also set up some hand sanitizing joints. And so there are tables placed at vantage points where people could sanitize their hands with alcohol-based sanitizers those are also scattered across the mall area. And then they have a public address system which is playing the Ministry of Health's advertisers jingle on the preventive measures on coronavirus. We've also gone to the China Mall, where we found that they placed somebody at the entrance of the mall with an alcohol-based sanitizer, and so as people enter, you get some sprayed onto your palm, and then you rub it before you enter. When you are leaving, they do same for you as well. And we have people distributing face masks as well at the China Mall. Now, we've also been to market areas, and the kind of talk that you find around is that people are really concerned. People are hungry for information, and they believe that it's better late than never. Though they wanted government to be more proactive than it has done now, they believe that this is the time to act. And so people are also doing their own thing. Some are using the elbow greetings, and some are using the leg greetings and all that. So when you want to shake somebody's hand, he says, well, these days they say we shouldn't be shaking hands. Then he gives you the elbow. That's what we found. But we went to Kumasi South Hospital, which is one of the holding areas, is the main holding area for suspected cases of coronavirus in Ashanti region. Now, what they've done there, at the entrance of the hospital, they've barricaded portions of it where people compulsorily have to pass. And they have these thermal guns that they use to check for temperature. And so if your temperature rises above 39, then they refer you to another facility where you are further screened, and there is a holding area which has 4 beds. And there are other wards within that particular holding area where they are supposed to quarantine people, get them tested, and if it turns positive, be able to hold the person for some time. So this is what we found on the field.
Well, quite interesting revelations. Rasta Sasari Danko is our man on the beat, but still in Kumasi, because researcher at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, Dr. Michael Owusu, says resources made available by government places Ghana in a position to build modern treatment centers for coronavirus.
A portable testing device which works without electricity, which can be deployed at the borders of Ghana for this testing. I saw it and I was so much happy. This machine, together with the reagent, will not cost more than $11,000. So you will expect that if you can buy 10 of these and position them at various borders and even make it available to the public health laboratories, testing can be done. If you are overwhelmed, KCC Noguchi is doing excellently well, but because the numbers are small, if you have 100, you do contact tracing, 100 to 200 people, the systems will be overwhelmed. So once money is coming in, it's an opportunity for us to be able to increase the testing centers. We need to build the system. I mentioned the other time that our system has not been tested. And if you have not been tested, you wouldn't know how to deal with these cases unless it comes. But you don't also have to wait for these cases to come and cause people to die. So what it means is that the money will have to be in. The KCCR must have its own share of the money. Noguchi must have its own share to boost testing capacity and buy a lot of the equipment, train people, deploy this equipment for people to do the testing.
We're still live on The Pulse. When we return shortly, we'll be telling you how people are cashing in on the coronavirus. Please stay with us. We're still talking coronavirus, and issues of holding centers have been of great concern to many health persons. Former Deputy Health Minister Dr. Victor Bampo says a lot must be done in the health sector to fight the virus.
I think that it's good that $100 million has been made available. That's fine, but I want to say that we should learn one thing, and that is that health systems are not built overnight. We can't expect the 100 million to turn overnight into the kind of people that we need to operate, the ventilators, to do all the specialist things that people need to stay alive. We must continue to put investments into our health systems. There was a reason why all the health facilities were put up, and I think it would be good for us to maintain this, because if we are guided by history, then every so often some of these events occur. So we know that it will come. We don't have to sit and wait until it's at our door before we then try to.
Victor Wampo is a former health minister. Let's take a while longer on coronavirus, but this time in Parliament, where North Tong MP Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is calling for the setting up of a special parliamentary committee to monitor how the executive is dealing with the coronavirus situation. Speaking on the floor, he said such a move will ensure the situation is properly contained. Mr. Ablakwa is also asking the executive to urgently provide to Parliament requests for approval of the $100 million the President says will be dedicated to contain the virus.
Is the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader also going to possibly consider a special committee to be set up to carry out some oversight, some monitoring of what the executive arm is doing, if the Right Honorable Speaker can consider that? I think that it will be very, very helpful if this House can consider a special committee to carry out oversight of the preparedness measures that have been announced by His Excellency the President. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I note that there is going to be an extension. We'll be sitting on Monday and sitting.
Ningo Pram MP Samuel George is requesting that sanitizers distributed in the house be changed to automated ones so they do not become a source of spread of the coronavirus.
It's possible that these sanitizers could be changed and the automated ones that have sensors put in there. Reason being, touch wood, if somebody is infected and comes to press the sanitizer, and someone else who is not infected but wants to sanitize his hands goes to press the same sanitizer, there's the possibility of those sanitizer points becoming incubation pods for the virus. But there are automated ones that have sensors where you don't need to touch it, you just put your hand under and it dispenses. If the Parliamentary Service Board could look, or Parliamentary Service could look at that to do that replacement, it would help make this place more safe and not make those sanitizers become a petri dish for the virus. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Our man in Parliament, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, joins me in the studio to tell us more about what's happening in Parliament. Hi, Gakpo.
Hi.
Yesterday, we heard about the Speaker talk about speed monitors. In fact, that was a suggestion made by Muntaka Mubarak. Today, we are hearing of some MPs calling for stringent measures to contain the virus. What has been happening in Parliament?
So precisely that. It was not exactly an issue on the agenda for discussion, except that one way or the other, when there was an outline of what the House will be doing next week, it's moved on onto the conversation around coronavirus. There were requests that the Speaker summons the health minister to come update the House, which he said that the minority should file an urgent question to that effect. There was the request having to do with hand sanitizers, so the Speaker asked the Clerk of Parliament to immediately work on and ensure that the kind of sanitizers that are in the house are automated. There was also the conversation around the need for some form of a ban on members of Parliament from traveling out of the country. That was a request that came from one of the MPs in the light of the executive ban on ministers from traveling.
That should be easy.
Yes, so this is something that the Deputy Majority Leader, who was standing in for the Majority Leader, supported, except that the indication was that this is something that a decision will be taking on going forward. But there was a bit of a debate about whether the House should set up a separate committee to oversee how the executive is dealing with the problem, with some MPs, including Alexander Penny-Markins, making the point that we do have a parliamentary committee on health that could help monitor this. Other MPs making the argument that we have a situation where this is an interministerial kind of problem, from national security to health to education, and that also generated a bit of a debate. But again, a decision on that was deferred until further notice.
Oh, wow. But yesterday there was a directive from the Speaker, and he directed the clerk to make sure the speed monitors that will check temperatures of both MPs and visitors. Has that been done? Did you check?
This was just yesterday. So Adjosafo gave the update on the floor and indicated that she's gotten indication that the procurement processes are ongoing in order to get those monitors, temperature monitors, brought into the house, and that this is something that will be done in due course. Except that the Ningo Prampram MP, Samuel George, for example, makes the point that a number of MPs, including the defense minister and himself, he says himself, for example, he traveled to the UK, he got back just about 6 days ago. He says he's been requesting for an opportunity to have himself checked and for the necessary testing to be done as to whether he's safe and that he doesn't have the virus. But he says from the indication that he's getting, these tools for the tests are unavailable, which he thinks is a very worrying situation if even legislators who've traveled out of the country cannot be tested, and that he thinks that it's about time that Parliament put some pressure on the executive to do what is right and get more of the test kits in to avoid a situation where people would harbor the diseases for a while and end up spreading it to other persons.
Well, of course, I've also had calls for the president himself to be tested. But in all of that, we're hearing also that members of parliament are calling on the executive to bring in the $100 million for approval so we can begin to spend and make sure we contain this disease.
Exactly. So a call that came from Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, except that for now it's unclear as to whether the executive would really be doing that and whether we'll be seeing a request for more like a supplementary budgetary approval with regards to that. But Sarah Adjosafo, the Deputy Majority Leader, indicated that she was going to communicate the request that had come from members of parliament, that such a request comes to the floor for approval to the finance minister. And if it becomes necessary, that is taken as urgent business, they will go ahead and do that. Interestingly, some of the MPs were on the floor today wearing masks.
I think I saw some, George.
Yes, it wasn't just him.
And gloves?
And gloves. It wasn't just him. Also, Dr. Zaneto Rollins, the MP for Cloticoli, was equally in that. And she explained on the floor that they would want to send a signal across that wearing a mask and wearing gloves is not out of place when there is a pandemic of this sort. Kwabena Mintakando, the minority spokesperson on health, was also in the mask and also in the gloves. And you'd recall that Ras Mubarak actually did this about 2 weeks ago, and looks like it caught on with the other MPs, even as the conversation continues. But the sense you get is that MPs are worried about themselves being infected. In fact, Ras Mubarak made a request on the floor of the House today that Parliament should consider banning visitors from coming into the House and sitting in the public gallery, because anyone could walk in with the disease and end up infecting legislators. So it looks like they are worried. They are more like panicking over the chances of the disease spreading among the legislators going forward.
Quite interesting. We'll be monitoring what happens in Parliament, but maybe we should emulate the examples. Bring in mask, gloves when we come to work. In fact, wear long sleeves, Gapo.
And wear Wellington boots. That's an option.
Thank you so much. Gapo is our man in Parliament, and he's brought us some updates from Parliament. Now, following the detection of COVID-19 cases in Togo, the government put in measures at the southern border to improve early detection of the virus. Aside from the installation of a thermal scanner and provision of thermometer and protective gears, officials of the border agencies have been duly trained. JoyNews' Fred Kwame Asari was at the Ghana-Togo border in Aplao and has filed this report.
It's a busy day here at the Ghana-Togo border in Aplao in the Ketu South municipality of the Volta region. As usual, travelers are crossing to Ghana while others are making their way into neighboring Togo. However, there has been a change in operations here following a detection of a coronavirus case in Togo. The Aplao Sector Commander of the Immigration Service, Chief Superintendent Fred Dwedu, outlined measures being taken at the border to prevent the spread of the virus into Ghana.
What about the equipment and other logistics that we need to also support whatever education that they have given us? They initially gave us some hand sanitizers, some gloves, some nose masks, which of course wasn't enough, but we need to make do of what we had then. Then afterwards, we had to contact our headquarters, Accra, immigration headquarters in Accra, also to inform them about the insufficient logistics that we will have. So quickly, they arranged for some of the equipment for us, the gloves, the sanitizers, the lotions, and those things. So quickly we brought it, and then we distributed to our officers for use. So any officer who is on duty must be with those items.
Officials of the various border agencies here are on high alert. A thermal scanner has also been installed at the border health post to help identify travelers who may be infected with the virus. Each and every traveler crossing into Ghana from Togo is compelled to go through a screening process at the border health post. The thermal scanner system, we were told, would give a signal if it detects a traveler with a temperature of 37.5 degrees Celsius or higher, which is a common symptom of a coronavirus infection.
So the service also, what also we have also done is to instruct the officers that every traveler that is coming into the country should go through screening at the hotel. Everybody who is entering the country. Yes. So if you look, we have put some officers under the arc, so that those times some of these locals who stay here and go and do business here and come. At times when they are come, because they know them, we allow them to go. Yes. At this time, if the person has moved from Aflao or whichever community, in the coastal region, gone to trade in Togo and is coming, you don't know who and who have gone to contract the thing. So now all of them, they all go through the screening.
However, there's a great risk of the virus spreading into Ghana through the numerous border communities and unapproved routes.
Yeah, it is one of the challenges that we are facing as an agency, because it is port health who has to go and maybe go and station some of their how do you call it, personnel there. Yes, it is a rapport which I think will draw the boss' attention. Yes. Colloquial alone. That is where the Plateau thing is. It is a whole community, a very big community. So when you go, you will see that both the women and the school children, they are crossing to go to school, and then after school they come back. Their wives, their men too, they go there, go and trade, then they come back. Like we are saying, if they go there and they go and contract something, how do we check it? That's the point. So I think it is something that yes, we will draw the attention, and then quickly something should be done about it, so that some of the personnel can be sent there.
Nonetheless, the municipal chief executive, Elliot Agbenowu, assured.
I'm sure by now many of you are trooping to pharmacies and shops to get hand sanitizers, but you may want to check the alcohol percentage, because Dr. Michael Owusu, a researcher with the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, is warning substandard sanitizers will not work.
Also buy absolute alcohol. You have 2.5 liters of absolute alcohol and prepare your own 70%. So if you have an alcohol which is about 100%, you can take 70 ml of the alcohol, add 30 ml of ideally distilled water. But if you don't have that one, you can, it's possible to use ordinary water, mix this, and then use it. Either medical supplies. You want to talk about absolute ethanol or isopropyl alcohol. They will get this for you. And if you check the label, it's mostly 99.8%. So once you get this, you know that what you have is absolute. You yourself can prepare your 70%. If you want 100 ml of that, just take 70 ml. You can measure. If you have a bottle with labels, measure, add 30 ml of water, and this is enough to protect you. That is when, if you think that getting the alcohol base is difficult.
A researcher at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research says resources made available by government places Ghana in a position to build modern treatment centers for coronavirus. Dr. Michael Owusu, firstly, he says is calling for deployment of portable test kits at the country's borders to screen people for coronavirus. He says all emergency response measures must include support to research institutions to increase their capacity. Dr. Michael Owusu has been speaking with Love FM's David Akwete on Love in the Morning. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following.
Dr. Osu says all emergency response measures must include support to research institutions to increase their capacity.
What I will expect is that this scenario should also give us an opportunity to build state-of-the-art centers to deal with infectious disease and outbreak. ICU infectious disease is one of the places you will want to set up and then build. But our system has not been tested. And if you have not been tested, you wouldn't know how to deal with these cases unless it comes. But you don't also have to wait for these cases to come and cause people to die. So what it means is that the money will have to be in. The KCCR must have its own share of the money. Noguchi must have its own share to boost testing capacity and buy a lot of the equipment, train people, deploy this equipment for people to do the testing. A portable testing device which works without electricity, which can be deployed at the borders of Ghana for this testing. I saw it and I was so much happy. This machine, together with the reagent, will not cost more than $11,000. So you will expect that if you can buy 10 of these and position them at various borders and even make it available to the public health laboratory.
Dr. Osu and his colleague, Dr. Augustina Silverken, believe there is no need for panic since the 2 confirmed cases are what they describe as imported. They stress high level of personal hygiene, especially continuous hand washing with soap.
So this way, so you flex your arm this way, and then you sneeze or you cough into it. You can also do this. So I say you catch your cough or you catch your sneeze. So you close your 2 palms and then you sneeze or you cough into it. But you know, this is where the hand washing bit becomes very important. Right after sneezing or coughing, you have to go straight to a tap running clean water with soap and then wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. And I think that you may even want to limit talking because the virus is such that it is transmitted via aerosols. So as you open your mouth to speak, a lot of things will come out of your mouth and you don't know what is even coming out of your mouth.
So you need to wet your hand first. You have some water, you wet your hand, and then after that you take your soap, rub it around within your hand. And if you look at my hand, in between my fingers, you could have microbes stuck within there. You see, I'm putting on a ring, so I have to take off my ring, put it somewhere because microbes can get stuck in the ring. If you have chains around your hand, you don't have to wear it whilst washing. It's good to put them somewhere. And then once you have your hand washed in between your fingers, at the back, you see, at the back also you have to make sure that it's clean. And then within, so anytime you do this, you see that the palm inside is kept
where the lines are.
So where the lines are, you can have microbes hiding there. So you need to make sure you do something like this. Those on Facebook can see me now.
Yes, they can.
And then they do that. And then also your thumb. So you could have microbes also hiding here. You need to make sure that you hold your thumb, you rub your hand around it. Then after that, you open your tap water and then you wash your hand and make sure that it runs out. But then remember that once you finish washing your hand, you need to take a tissue to close the tap.
The 2 researchers are, however, drawing attention to substandard sanitizers, some with alcohol content below recommended 60% base on the market. They urge the public to consider preparing their own sanitizers.
Any either medical supplies, you want to talk about absolute ethanol or isopropyl alcohol, they will get this for you. If you check the label, it's mostly 99.8%. So once you get this, you know that what you have is absolute. You yourself can prepare your 70%. If you want 100 mils of that, just take 70 mils. You can measure. If you have a bottle with labels, measure, add 30 mils of water. And this is enough to protect you. That is when, if you think that getting the alcohol bracelet is difficult.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
The Ashanti Region Health Directorate says the region has received an amount of 52,000 Ghana cedis as the first tranche for the fight against coronavirus. Officials say the initial money will be used to prioritize the purchase of non-contact thermometers for the health professionals. Regional Health Director Dr. Emmanuel Tenkran revealed the unit has reactivated the Public Health Emergency Committee, which is multi-sectorial to support the fight. He has been explaining to Love FM's Prince Tapia.
And in Ashanti region, we're also working very hard. We've divided our preparedness into various strategies. The first is what we call the coordination. The coordination, this is the center for the coordination, so that all activities, as far as the Ashanti region is concerned, will be coordinated at the Regional Coordinating Council here. And then the regional minister will be the incident commander.
It is part of the moves by government to strengthen its preparedness in the regions to contain any possible case if recorded. Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran says all district hospitals in the region will be holding centers, while the Kumasi South Hospital will be equipped to serve as a treatment center.
As far as funding is concerned, you heard that the government has released some money, and Ashanti region has also been given part of the money. For the meantime, we will want to use the money to buy non-contact thermometers, so that when our nurses are taking temperatures, then they can rather use that one. At least if only we are fortunate enough to get it. Now, you know, because the demand for everything is so high, you can't get anything. But we are hoping that we will get it. But that's what we plan to use the money for. If we get, we are hoping that we will get it. The money comes in bits and pieces. So, for instance, yesterday, the spreadsheet that I had brought in 52,000. But I know that, 52,000 Ghana cedis, just initial money that has been allocated here. But we have been promised that now they are doing the distribution. So we'll get it in bits and pieces. As it comes, we also get. But I know the chunk of the money has been released to Ministry of Health, and they are also giving us some. They are also using some for the national programs, risk communication, printing materials, a whole lot of things that they are also doing. So we also get our part and do what's supposed to do, please. But we will basically start with the risk communication. So what we plan to do is that every week we will give a press briefing here from 9:30 to 10 o'clock Mondays. You can come, and then if you have any issues, we will support you. And in Ashanti region, we're also working very hard. We've divided our preparedness into various strategies. The first is what we call the coordination. The coordination, this is the center for the coordination, so that all activities, as far as the Ashanti region is concerned, will be coordinated at the Regional Coordinating Council here. And then the regional minister will be the incident commander.
If you just joined us, we're still live on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. Remember, you can watch us on DTT because we are free to air now. There is more when we return from this break. It's been 5 days since a gory accident on the Kintampo Highway killed more than 30 people. That's almost 4 times the number of persons who were killed by coronavirus in China today. This definitely is a matter of concern. But we have one man who's been speaking to victims of such accidents and helping them spiritually and physically. He's just returned from Kintampo, where a number of accidents have happened in the past. Reverend Cyril Crab, the boss of Accident Victim Support Foundation. Tell us about your visit this afternoon to Kintampo.
Okay, thank you very much, and a good afternoon to yourself and our cherished listeners. Also, let me express condolences to the baby family, and my empathy goes to anyone who has been involved in this. In fact, having a first-hand witness at the scene itself, so many things came into mind, and having also to engage commuters, engage both the security and also victims and the family of those who have passed on. I tell you, there is more to it than we see it on TV and on radio. And just as we have attached urgency to this coronavirus, I think we should add or attach the same urgency to the increasing and worrisome, I call it gruesome and barbaric road crashes that is happening at the moment. Victims over there, by the grace of God, they are scared. I must confess, now they are scared. People of Kintampo, as I talk to you at this moment, they are very scared and they are looking forward that authorities will step up with measures to curb these menace or the road carnages. To them over there, they are very, very, very alarmed.
But what is it with this particular stretch? Because this is not the first time we're seeing this. And I've heard so many theories, plus even now people are reading spiritual connotations into this. I mean, how would you explain what is happening over there?
Indeed, for spiritual connotation, the indigenes over there with my engagement, they now think that indeed there is a spiritual connotation. They think there is something behind it. Going forward also, they also are looking forward that at least a dual carriage should be done for them. I traveled on that stretch from Kintampo station to where the incident happened, where I passed through the last year's incident as well as the current incident. And you realize that it's more scary when you are driving on that stretch, facing a car, oncoming vehicle, and you meeting another vehicle. It is so scary that I think what they are calling for the dual carriage should be adhered to. It must be done. And they also think that because this is from them, even though I have been speaking about it, from them they said that they are expecting that when these things happen, at least some rituals will be done at the place to appease the spirits.
So because that hasn't been done, that's why we're
not
experiencing
entirely.
more?
Myself, when I went there, I realized one or two things, which if it is outside the country, it will be done over there.
Okay.
At this moment, it's a crime scene.
Yes.
It's an accident scene.
Yes.
And so the place at least should be barricaded, so that at least people who come there will be very much cautioned. But as I talk to you now, none of these things, I did a Facebook Live on that, and you see the cloth of the people over there. They are still there. We've just left it like that, and you see as you can see, you see the motor, the motor that has the petrol that sparked the fire also over there. The way it is like this, that is how it is. Cloth and tomatoes and all other things, and we even suspected that there is an arm which has bent that is also there. And according to them also, they are saying that at least the place should be fumigated.
Yeah.
At least, so that it wouldn't bring any other thing also onto them. They think that it can spark maybe disease or these viruses that is happening. So the authorities should spray the place, should barricade the place, see the place as a crime scene, and then quickly do something about it. They took me to where the accident happened last year, and they said that they know that for 1 year since nothing has been done there, this one too will be left like that. And for them, it's alarming.
Wow.
For them, it's alarming.
Of course. But did you visit the hospitals where the victims of the last accidents were deposited?
Sure, I did, and extensively. I also visited the cemetery that the mass burial took place last year. Where it took place, the same place. In fact, when I was living there yesterday, they were even preparing. They have dug a grave for the current ones because they said that the family have identified them, and so they have dug the grave waiting for their bodies to come. In fact, I think in Ghana here we have not given dignity to the dead, to people who died on our roads or who died like this. It's very sad. I even questioned them that won't you wait for a DNA, or won't you wait for some kind of plan should be done for these people, so that these bodies will be given the dignity that they deserve, just like any other Ghanaian who died through any.
Yeah, but the mortuary attendants this week have been complaining about the stench emanating from.
I must confess, I'm just coming back from there yesterday, I mean this morning, and I spoke to the administrator at the place. He said that the seriousness that was attached to what happened last year, this year they've not seen it.
That's kind of serious.
Yes, he said that there were donations of detergents that will keep the stench. Indeed, according to them, there's a scent that comes when bodies burn like that, and there is also a detergent that at least curbs the stench, handles it, but none of them has been done this time round. And according to them also, people are coming in to identify, and Muslims, when you die, the next day they have to bury you. And so most of them who are Muslims at the moment, they are identifying their bodies and they are calling for them to be buried. I went to the Kintampo hospital where they were treated. The survivors were treated. In fact, we need to, I have told them, and they've also called on us to prepare a psychological, meetings with these people, because the trauma is serious. According to them, one of them keep on having a flash of what happened. Yes, in fact, it's a second chance when you come out of an accident like this. And I think going forward, the country either should come to our aid, listen to accident victim support. We think that a dual carriage should be, on that stretch. On that stretch. It's serious because the other car was dodging. But he was also on a speed, and so we're also encouraging them. Road safety says that minimize your speed. At least if the other car was driving very slow or the speed was minimized on that street, it's a lone road, so definitely you are pushed to drive at that level of speed. But at that time, if you slow down, it will help you. It will help. So patience and also limiting your speed on that stretch could help save a life. And going forward, I think the dual carriage is what they are calling for, and also important. Dignity for the dead. They think, and they also said that they want to promote not driving within the hours of 12 and 3, because they said all the accidents that happens at night.
Yes. But and talking about this reminds me, we can't do this without talking about what our attitudes. I'm talking about drivers' attitudes, passengers, discipline on our roads, not conforming to road traffic regulations and what have you. Have we improved since the last time we recorded the most horrific accident?
We have. With National Road Safety Commission, our side, we have from that time step up with engagement when it comes to advocacy and education. But driver adherence to this education is that is difficult at this particular moment. As I talk to you now, if only drivers will listen, that if you are going to travel such a distance, rest a while. It is advised that rest a while. Now, if you can't rest a while as a lone driver, the drivers must be 2 or 3, so that when you get there and you are tired, you change it. You cannot be a master on the road like that. I traveled from there at we left there at 6 o'clock, and we got here at 4 p.m. midnight. In the evening, we got here 4 p.m. midnight. Now, at this particular moment, if drivers will listen that fatigue driving can cause such accident, don't drive when you are tired. Don't drive when you are tired. And when you are driving, you're alone, then anywhere you get to and you are tired, we advise that you rest. You rest. Because our roads, it's not today that this dual carriage will be done for us. So today, we are saying that if we know that last year, this is what happened. In fact, when you visit the grave, the site where they buried last year people, I cried.
Yeah.
I cried. Because we didn't plan for what happened this Monday.
Yeah.
We want to go there and put a wreath. There will be a wreath laying ceremony over there, which we have discussed on phone. But going there to see with my eyes, you need to be there to see what I'm talking about.
Very sad.
It's sad. It's beyond, and I think we all must put our hands on deck. The education we are doing about the driver must listen. That listen, fatigue driving is killing us.
Yeah.
Overspeeding is killing us. On the road, we also realize that most of the trailer cars which have overloaded are falling by the street.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they are falling. And it falls, surprisingly, it falls 10 minutes from the barriers that are there.
Wow.
It means under the watch of the police.
Yeah.
And so we are also begging police that at least they should also step up. What is not right is not right.
Yeah.
And so when overloading is not right, they can impound the car, because you might not know what would happen next.
Yeah.
You might not know what is happening next.
I'm grateful for your time, and I'm hoping that we've learned some sense and some lessons from what has happened.
Yes, we have, but we have not. As a country, I think this is the height of it. I have been engaging accident victims. I sat with a woman and she cried. I spoke to one family that said that. These are the people they were just coming for a funeral, and the two of them have to crash in that car. I'm saying that going forward, accident victim support, we want us to show a little bit more of concern to the way we handle accident victims and the way we bury, such victims who are involved in these crashes, and they should adhere to us.
Thank you very much for passing through. On the post, Reverend Cyril Krapp, and he's been doing some road safety works. Over 60% of blood donors in Ghana are family replacement blood donors. This is according to National Blood Service. The over-reliance on these donors has resulted in the shortage of blood in most health facilities in the country. An interview with JoyNews head of research at the National Blood Service, Dr. Lucia Samoa Akuako, says her outfit will resort to public education in second cycle schools to increase voluntary donation of blood because they make up the majority of safe blood supply. She spoke at the 2019 annual performance review of the National Blood Service, Ghana.
One of the things that we have identified for sure is the fact that we are not collecting enough blood. So we are looking very keenly at how we can overcome difficulties relating to getting people to donate blood. Student donors form a very significant population of our blood donors. They are younger, they are safer, and they are able to donate more. They have the enthusiasm to save lives once they understand, and because they are in groups already, they are easier to reach. Because of the new arrangement in the school, there are fewer students per time in the school. So we are brainstorming on how we will look, of course, at the fewer student issue, if it means we have to try and arrange with the schools to visit more often. And then we are also looking at the age, and we are looking at possibly forming a relationship with the students to sensitize them to come back to donate blood once they have finished school. This year, we are looking, the target that we've set is looking at about achieving 50% voluntary donations.
And David Ahiajiro also made a passionate call for blood donation to become a civic responsibility that he says will revive the almost bankrupt blood bank system in Ghana.
We have pockets of shortages in some of the districts or regional hospitals for blood, especially the rare blood types, because we are not getting in the numbers that will actually be there to solve for any other blood type that calls on us. I'm calling for a transition from the family replacement donation to a voluntary unpaid donation. Blood donation should be seen as a civic responsibility. That is a way of contributing to the health of the nation. We all need to put our hands on deck. I keep on saying that anybody at all can donate blood, provided you are healthy, you are safe, and of a sound man. And we, from 17 years of age up to, let's say, 60, we can donate blood. We have the people in our system.
And as we wrap up the Pulse this afternoon, I've enjoyed the almost 2 hours stay with you. For more news, log on to my Joy Online, and also for updates for the developing stories. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching.